Music is a universal experience amongst humanity. Every country, every culture, and every human being will likely experience music to some extent. It could be considered the most popular means to convey a story in the world. Lyrics and instruments weave together to give you an experience unlike any other, and we cannot get enough of it. The act of making music is to accomplish the same end that making a movie or writing a book will reach. All of them use outside stimuli to make our silly little brain latch onto what we are experiencing. Music might even be the most powerful among them, having far more option to use things like repetition to stick in your mind. Unsurprisingly, this makes it perfect for the use of advertising. Associating a product with a song helps to engrave it in your memory, and that's where it ends most of the time. Song good? Make people buy. But in some cases, the music chosen to represent a product ends up being deeply significant to it, and even enhances the experiences you have with it, which is a very roundabout way for me to tell you that Fate Go's theme songs are really good and deserve a ton of credit for how they convey the ideas of the story. That's right, what could have been simple schlock to stick into your head and make you think of the game is instead a thesis statement for it. If you want to get to the meat of what each arc in Fate Go is about, just listen to the music, or do what I did and look for translations because you don't actually understand Japanese. However you experience them, you can't deny that each is emblematic of the section they debut in, and I don't think enough people give them the credit they deserve. So I'll be taking a look at not only the 3 openings for Fate Go, but the 4 songs that advertise the singularities from Epic of Remnant, and the promo song for the Oku event, which totals out to way more music I expected. Why the hell do I do this to myself? Of course, there's nowhere better for us to start than the first opening of the game, Shikisai, or Color if you want to be lame and English speaking. Like me! Our first theme for Fate Grand Order tells the story of a young woman faced with a daunting task. It's not the lighthearted fare you might have expected from a simple phone game. No, this tale has stakes. Stakes that are so intense that the young woman struggles to cope with her task, as we can tell from the first words we hear, which translate to, "When I'm alone, I can hear the words. If it's painful, feel free to stop." Deep, like a black hole, from a sweet voice, frightening and tempting. She knows she needs to stay strong and carry out her duty, but can't deny that it's a burden that she's barely strong enough to carry. The song only grows more intense, but something else begins to build with it. More instruments come into play, bringing a sense of hope to the music. Because while her burden is tough, she isn't alone. She finds comfort in her companion, just enough that she's able to keep going. I'll try mimicking the words you so often speak, and say that it's nothing. It doesn't matter if that's a lie, if it gives me a motive to keep standing. As the words leave her mouth, the music swells, the tension releases us into an upbeat, triumphant sound. This connection she has gives her the will to press on, and the chance to define her own beliefs. There exists an end for the life of everything, so I wonder, why do humans grow frightened and lament? It is because I know that I will lose it someday, that every day is more beautiful than anything. There is only one future that I see. Eternity isn't something I want in the least. Every second, every moment is dear to me. I too am living in the world where you are. The young woman ponders why humans fear and despair over their end. That end is what brings life beauty. So she rejects eternity, as what she values is each second and moment she has. She is happy to live in the same world as her companion. The opening ends on this declaration that our short lifetimes matter. The same message the First Order is so eager to deliver to the player. And if it weren't obvious, the song is told from the perspective of Mash, a homunculus doomed to a short life, and is forced to spend what time she has trying to reverse the end of humanity. The song is an encapsulation of her journey, of how she struggles to carry through her mission and is saved by someone who reached their hand out to her and gave her the strength to fight. Which ties into the second verse, where she relapses a bit. As though it's chiding me, I see the same dream every time. A dream so beautiful it's ironic. Wake me up, I don't want to run away. She still feels doubt towards her future and longs for a way to defy her fate, but she knows it's wrong and calls for someone to keep her grounded. Until goodbye, I want to stay by your side. Even if that day comes tomorrow, I'll have no regrets. You're the one who gave color to me. I want to imprint into my memory the vision of this world I live in with you. Red, blue, indigo, aqua, rainbow, sky, colors. But the music rises again as she declares she wants to stay by your side, and as long as she does, she'll have no regrets. The master showed her the world. They are the one who gave her color. She wants nothing more than keep experiencing the world together. As the music falls, the singer simply lists the colors to herself before confidently singing. I can't become a goddess, nor can I offer prayers to someone else. I don't care what anyone might say, I know what the important things are. She isn't the strongest or kindest, but regardless of that, she dedicates herself to the mission for the sake of those important things, and no one can convince her to turn her back on it. The chorus plays again, gentler than before, as Mash plainly states her reasoning for her beliefs. There is nothing more than this that I wish for. The future I want lies right here. You're the one who gave me loneliness for the first time. You've shown me the value of mere solitude. Once again, the music builds as she says these words before repeating the lyrics from earlier, bringing this simple declaration to a close. She doesn't need an eternity because being here with the Master is worth more than anything she could find with a longer life. I can't call it anything less than the perfect summation of Mash's character arc. Her insecurities and beliefs are on full display. The song is so good at portraying her that you don't need to play the game to understand who she is. These lyrics are putting in the work to solidify the idea of who Mash is. By proxy, because the first arc is so thematically tied up in her character arc, it also ends up representing the first arc itself. The First Order's statement on the value of our fragile lives is declared proudly in the song, and it's a beautiful and somewhat moody piece that embodies that message masterfully. It's a shame, then, that the theme that plays at the end of the First Order isn't quite as compelling. Eternity Blue falls in line with your typical J-pop tune, not really offering much interesting musically. And that's coming from a guy who does in fact like J-pop. I'm not gonna claim that the song is bad, I actually like it a fair bit, but nothing it does is what I'd call particularly interesting. What else it doesn't do is expand on the themes presented by Shikisai. It specifically focuses on the bond between Mash and the Master and how it gave her the strength to continue on without really ever actually developing that idea. Its imagery doesn't go much further than its opening counterpart. The strongest line it actually has is, "I've always thought that the sky has an ash color, and you were the one who told me the true color of this world." It's not anything revolutionary and doesn't advance its depiction of their bond, but it does work as a decent metaphor, and the song is fairly catchy. So it's still worth listening to, I think. I think that a song that felt more referential to the bond between Romani and Mash would have been more impactful, but even so, I think this is a nice song about our main characters and a sweet end to our first adventure, even if it's a little lacking in substance. And as the first arc draws to a close, we enter into the less important but still intriguing Epic of Remnant section. To help advertise each of these new singularities, a theme was written for each of them. For Shinjuku, we have Lose Your Way. For Agartha, we got Indelible Illusion. Shimosa gave us Ittou Ryoran. And finally, Salem gave us Seirennaru Heretics. And they didn't pull any punches because each of these songs is a certified banger. As much as I'd like to skip to my favorite in the bunch, we unfortunately have to start with Lose Your Way. Despite my whining though, Shinjuku's theme is still pretty damn good. Lose Your Way by The Round Table? Holy shit, I didn't know they had a band. Agavane, is that you singing? You've got way more vocal range than I would have thought. Oh, it's just a group with the same name? Well, that's not nearly as cool. Oh well, the song is still pretty good. It has this chill vibe that is perfect for the more modern setting. I don't know much about musical composition, so I can't really say why. The song has a really cool energy that fits the urban fantasy thing Fate has going on, and the lyrics aren't slacking off either, because to match the great lie that is Shinjuku, they immediately present us with a strange scene. A maze and endless questions. My finger traced the dark sky, puzzled as the wind dances. I love the dual mysteries of maze and endless question, as it presenting two different issues to us is great foreshadowing for the twist of Shinjuku. I'd say it's fairly accurate to say that we are too busy dealing with endless questions to realize we're stuck in a maze until the end. And the following lyrics line up pretty well with Moriarty. My valley of memories passes through. Feels like I saw a shadow with a wicked smile, with a fading lie. Specifically, I think it's an amazing reference to his scheme. Memories fade as he erases them for his plot. The last thing he sees being his disguised cooperator's wicked smile, and his own lie fading for mine. Almost hypnotically, the singer calls out. It appears to break. The words connect. You've begun to shake. The way this part repeats in an almost dreamy feel to the voices adds to the mysterious feel of the song. The whole vibe feels like it's trying to mislead the listener, like luring them into a trap. The chorus only adds to the feeling of deception as the singer switches between English and Japanese to deliver the lines, lose your way, from there only. Feel your way, there are no answers. Phantom pain, my ordinary went upside down. Lose your way, from there only. Gone your way, you can barely reach the town. Phantom pain, that place was a hope I expected to see someday. The whole chorus makes me think of Moriarty's scheme to trick and bond with the Master of Chaldea. Lose your way is an obvious allusion to his deception, and the from there only line might be signifying his control of the the situation. The master is to get lost according to his plan, from the point he decides. The no answers line also references the same thing. While the phantom pain line might be due to the moment Moriarty got his memory back, it feels a slight twinge of sadness at having to kill the master. Or maybe it's his natural instinct to not want to do good. Who knows how the spider thinks? The second verse isn't eager to answer any questions either. It would rather set the scene a bit and develop that mysterious feeling. The asphalt and many sounds. My sweat is for the contradiction born from my steps, awaiting for now. The hands of the clock don't match up, even if you pick up the pieces. If you're scared, you grip the rusty, spiraling hard rail. They are strange and almost trippy lyrics, which definitely has nothing to do with me barely understanding the language. Nothing at all. The tone matches that odd scene presented by the lyrics, coming together to create a hazy, dreamlike feeling. Before the chorus comes back in, which doesn't sound any more honest, but at least they put some energy into messing with us. The lyrics are mostly the same here, except for the lines following Phantom Pain, which should become Repeating Desires and The One I Waited For Is an Ordinary Season. The first lyric keeps with the general idea of being lost, while the second one is one of the main reasons I think the song is from Moriarty's point of view, because that sounds exactly to me the way he might describe the master. The way I see it, this entire song boils down to Moriarty messing with our protagonist, with lyrics emblematic of his scheming, which is supported by the almost hazy vibe of the song. As the song goes on, the last part doesn't use any new lyrics, but an almost sad piano chimes in right at the conclusion, signaling the end of the plot the spider wove for us, and bringing an end to Shinjuku. And I don't have any further elaborations on this song. It's simply from the point of view of a trickster who wants us to get lost in a maze, hazy and confused, to trap our mind and keep us from finding the truth. And I think it does a wonderful job presenting that. And now we go to the far less interesting stage of Agartha. Despite the downgrade in the writing though, the themes manage to stay strong, with Indelible Illusion giving us a mesmerizing melody that gives us insight into the mind of Scheherazade. And you don't need to look any further than the first few lines to know that. Every night in bed, I'll faintly whisper of tragedies, comedies, whatever you desire. Allow me to beautifully offer them to you. Blue roses tainted with blood, the sound of scattering petals, and things like longing for eternity. I will steal them away in the next stage. If the whispering of stories doesn't call to mind the famous teller of the Arabian Nights, I don't know what would. The blue roses tainted with blood reflect our own precarious situation from legend, while the longing for eternity and stealing them away comment on her own plan to forever escape death. And as the chorus begins, we are greeted by a counter to that desire. The prelude of eternity reflects on a sleepy night. The desires seen at the end of reality are an unbearable madness, whispering in your bedroom overnight, finally arriving at the infinite future, even if it glitters and smells sweet, forever and ever entwining and rotting away. Indelible illusion. When presented with what she desires, that infinite future which seems so glamorous to her, she calls it the indelible illusion, an unforgettable illusion, with no care for its rot. But with rot nonetheless. Almost if somewhere in the back of her mind, she understands her plan isn't exactly a good idea. And I'll comment now that just reading the lyrics off don't do this song much justice. A lot of its appeal comes from the way it's sung, and the hypnotizing sound of the music and vocals. The vibe is totally immaculate, and if you haven't heard it, I recommend fixing that immediately. Our next lyrics get less personal as Scheherazade now, instead becoming a little more emblematic of Agartha as a whole. If you desire a dream, allow me to show you one. However, it will be a nightmare. Cruel, irrational, and unbearable. That is the trivial logic of this place. Light and shadow, dazzling and ruthless, chaos crept in. It's a strange and terrible place filled with injustice, and that's reflected here. And as a response to that, the next lyric reminded me of Fergus's role in the singularity. An insane state, a decadent deathbed, I will tear up that bad end. The prelude to an event is the sight of a hopeless light. Accepting this despair is like a hate from which there is no escape. Kneeling before a silent night and then waiting for your soul to be saved, modest love continued on. Forever and ever entwining and rotting away. Bad scene illusion. Sheherazade's pain is acknowledged here, but her goals aren't accepted. The lyrics aren't condemning her, but do criticize her. Along with referring to her despair as a hate with no escape, it refers to her goal as a bad scene illusion, which aside from the awkward English, presents his stance perfectly. The future she wants is a bad illusion which won't come to fruition. And with this declaration made, the song closes with a modified version of the chorus to give us a more personal and accepting end to Sheherazade's story. The desires you see at the end of reality are an unbearable madness, whispering in your bedroom 1,000 nights, finally arriving at the infinite future. until it shines like a sweet aroma, forever and ever until it entwines and rots away. Indelible Illusion. Despite how it may seem, these lyrics are Scheherazade coming to terms with her reality. The way the lyrics change from even if it shines like a sweet aroma to until it shines like a sweet aroma shows that even if she can't quite accept everything now, eventually she'll be able to. The shift from forever and ever entwining and rotting away to forever and ever until it entwines and rots away solidifies that. Instead of seeking a solution that'll lead to stagnation, she instead presses on, accepting that her illusion will rot away, leaving her to face reality. And so her story reaches its conclusion with a bit of hope. Once again, this song is so good, you really just have to hear it to understand what makes it so good. Everything comes together marvelously. Seriously, go give it a listen after this video. And while our next theme isn't near as artistic, it's for sure matching in quality, because Shimosa graced us with the honestly, utterly badass Ittou Ryoran. Which is fitting, as it also acts as the theme song of Musashi, who lives up to the hype the song provides brilliantly. After an intro of adrenaline-pumping music, the lyrics cut in. Looking at the scene of the end, I realize I'll have to leave it all behind again. These meetings, partings, and even our bonds. Will the coming future be a place to call home? It's because I don't know that I continue forward. Even more than our other two songs, this one makes it readily apparent who the perspective is from, as these lyrics are a one-to-one connection with Musashi, the wandering swordswoman who moves from world to world because of her unique existence. They also show us one of two of Musashi's main drives. In addition to taking her swordsmanship even higher, she wants to return home, or find a place she can consider home. And it's these things that allow her to press on. The light I saw when I kept my eyes closed, the darkness which I opened my eyes to, I will slice them through. These lyrics are a bit more interesting than they appear. The first could be in reference to the way Musashi fights, seeing various ways her fights can play out before opening her eyes to face her foes. The darkness in this case. As a note, the line I translated as I will slice them through is translated as slash it through in the video I took the lyrics from, link in the description below. In Japanese, the lyric is the same as the title of the song, Ittou Ryoran, which to the best of my knowledge translates directly to a singular powerful cut. I couldn't find any clever way to word it when going through the lyrics though, so I just adjusted it to flow a little better. Things tend not to translate clearly between the two languages, and this is a case of it being a bit difficult. Anyway, back to the chorus. To survive on this path of carnage, I will cut this pulsing fate apart, to engrave the present onto eternity. Just this one feeling alone, even if the form cannot remain. Her drive and ambitions are on full display here. She will do whatever she has to in order to win the fight, even cutting fate itself. Not really sure why she'd want to do that. It has plenty of cut content already, but who am I to judge? It goes on to express that she wants to engrave the feeling onto eternity, a lasting mark made by her, implying that she wants to leave behind a legacy. But Musashi is a multifaceted character, as the next lyric shows. If it's sorrowful, then let's just cast it aside. If it's happy, then let's take it to heart. If you're still human, then perhaps doing so is rather shameless. But surely it's better that way, isn't it? This shows the straightforward side of her personality off perfectly. She's not going to bother with things she doesn't like, preferring to focus on what she likes and getting rid of the rest. She's aware of how that makes her look, but she prefers it to how people normally live, almost casually expressing that preference with the last lyric. And the next few lines add to this. Through the unseen curtains within my eyelids, drag out the visible dreams and indulge in it. She fully endorses her self-serving way of life and the idea of just doing whatever she wants, indulging in it with no remorse. Like the Ittou Ryoran line before it, the lyric translated as indulge in it is a little complicated. The word is Nitten Doraku, which literally means indulgence under two skies. It's an amalgamation of Musashi's mastery of Nitten Ichiryu and the word for debauchery, Doraku. The lyric video link below will have this in a bit more detail though, so again, check that out if you'd like. But back to the chorus. Our destinies bound like two sides of a coin shall together hone this blazing heart, reinforced like welded steel. It will become stronger so that it won't ever break. And like before, this is as simple as it sounds. With the Master of Chaldea and the adventure together in Shimosa, her heart is reinforced and she only becomes stronger. This part is basically an invitation to this part of the game, and I kinda love it for that. It also leads us to repeat the chorus, but with a change in the final lyric now reading, even if the form of what binds the two of us cannot remain. What she wants is to engrave into the world, along with her swordsmanship, is the feeling of traveling with a close companion, a real connection that she cherishes. Even if it isn't tangibly seen, she wants to strengthen the feeling so it will last forever. Out of all the themes we talk about today, this one is by far the most direct, much like the woman it represents. I'd argue it gives us an even deeper understanding of who she is, better than a lot of her writing, which does tend to focus on the badass, kind of hedonistic swordswoman that she is. It just gives us that bit of spice of vulnerability we don't often see from Musashi, so it's nice. But now we move on to a tale that is wrapped in thick fog obscuring the truth from us. For the next theme is the theme of Salem, Seirennaru Heretics. And before we start, this one's my favorite of the Epic of Remnant themes. I cannot help it. It is so good. Okay, but let's discuss the name first. It roughly translates out as the Honest Heretics, which is perfect for this adventure to the Salem witch trials, where our heroes befriend the young honest heretic herself, Abigail Williams. This young girl is the focus of the song, as depressing as that is. Because just take a look at some of the lyrics, we aren't exactly in for happy times. They are also the only lyrics that I couldn't find a satisfactory translation for, so I guess it's mostly up to me for this one. Are you secluding and locking yourself away? I count my 7 pains until I fall asleep. I saw a blackbird fly. The small cat left and vanished. My withering heart screams, faced with retribution. Cheery stuff, right? This one is a little more complicated in how it's linked to Abby than the other themes to their respective parts. In this case, the connection to the situation is a bit looser. But Abby is a girl secluded and locked away in Salem, forced to suffer time and time again to summon an elder god. The blackbird is setting the scene, providing ominous imagery for us, and the small cat vanishing could be interpreted as loss of comfort and safety. And of course, the withering heart facing retribution is due to her sins of causing countless deaths, and the judgment she sees herself deserving. This only applies to the Abbey in Salem though, the one in Chaldea is a fairly different character. Things only get worse with the next lyrics. Someday, while it's hazy, the flames from lost images may burn me. Once again, we keep along with the theme of repentance, with the idea of something from the past, something almost forgotten, burning Abby. I'll also admit that this is where I'm the fuzziest on my translation. I'm not an expert when it comes to Japanese, so while I'm sure the words are right, I'm less confident that I arranged them right. So if anyone has any corrections for me, please comment them down below. What also doesn't help is that I found differing lyrics in Japanese, so lucky me, I guess. Enough whining, back to the lyrics. In search of love, I wait for the comet to return, even if these peaceful, quiet days crumble again. Abby's search for love, or rather, someone to forgive her sins, will persist no matter how many times the tragedy of Salem plays out. And the madness of that is a part of why Rom's plan almost comes to fruition. When the key breaks, who will you be connected to? As I began to count, something obscured my vision and destroyed the fakes. These lyrics could simply represent Chaldea, who forms a bond with Abby, the Silver Key, and eventually save her from Rom's cruel plan. On the flip side, it could also be in reference to Rom manipulating her. I saw a winding black spiral, and a little of the suffering vanished. I couldn't put it into words then, but now I seek salvation. The black spiral refers to the Elder God, who eased a little of her pain, but she knows that's not what she desires, as she simply wants to be saved, spared from her sins. Someday I'll bring out that love, to break out and cast off this shell. If the pain I've endured makes me fall apart, I'll search for love, waiting for that comet to return. Even if those days I spent crying become hazy and disappear, it can't end yet. I'll start the blaze again. Abby wants to find that connection that'll break her out of the cycle, even if she isn't fully aware of it. She reaffirms her determination to find the love that will save her, and she will keep suffering if it means that she reaches the end she wants. We then get a repeat of the chorus with a changed lyric at the end. I will search for love and chase the orbiting comet, my hand forever linked with yours. This is pretty simple. She's found someone to bond with, and that takes her from waiting for what she wants to chasing it. With one more repeat of the chorus, we find our last lyrics. Even if you disappear, we won't be separated. Even if you disappear, we won't be separated. At last, Abby has the peace she sought, finding someone who is willing to forgive her actions. And now that she has this bond, she will be okay. At least, that's my takeaway from it. It's the tale of Abby making a friend and finding strength because of it. She is the honest heretic, an innocent girl who brought tragedy. And after a lot of pain and suffering, she finds the forgiveness she sought. Surprisingly pleasant for what was such a messed up singularity, and the perfect capstone for the Epic of Remnant. Because it's by far the best of the songs. Of course, that's a matter of taste, but I can't help it. I love songs that mix soft and hard parts like this one. It manages to be both beautiful and badass, and that duality fits the subject perfectly. As Abby is on one hand an innocent sweet girl, and on the other, the key to an eldritch horde like we can't imagine. And her disturbed tale brings an end to the Epic of Remnant art. And finally brings us to the Cosmos and the Lost Belts, with the game's second opening, Gyakkou, which translates out to Backlight. And out of every song we are discussing today, this is the only one where I have no clue what's going on. Nasu himself said, you won't understand who the song is about until part 2 is over. And would you look at that? Part 2's not over, and I'm underqualified to speak on it. So, what am I gonna do, just skip it? Hell no! I'm already lacking in the qualifications to talk about anything I make a video about. What's one more for the pile? So grab your tin hats, my friends, it's conspiracy time, as we try and crack the code on what the hell's going on here. It was melancholic. Every time I opened my eyes, the same ceiling would be there, reminding me that this is reality and that there is no exit here. From these first lyrics, we can tell that our POV character for the song experienced confinement, stuck in the same place day after day without the chance to leave of their own volition. Before going on, let's look at the candidates for this mysterious person. First up, former director of Chaldea, Olga Maria Hemisphere. Second, we have the man chosen by the foreign god, Kirshtario Wodan. Third is the master of Chaldea themselves. Fourth, we have the enigmatic Chaldean. Fifth, the being that was trapped in Area 51, Subject E. And finally, the creator of Chaldea, Marsbury and Hemisphere. These are the 6 that I think the song could most likely be discussing, or most popular theories that I've seen. And lucky for us, these first lyrics take 4 of them off the list. While Wodan is an incredibly interesting character, and the lyrics could match up to a bit of his backstory we learned in Olympus, it doesn't fit his vibe at all. Later lyrics also point to a deep connection to another person, which we really don't see from Wodan, so I'm dropping him early. For the protagonist, I feel like I barely have to explain this. I've seen the idea thrown around a few times, but the master of Chaldea was a normal person before the game. So lyrics that imply them being isolated for a prolonged amount of time don't fit so nicely. So we'll cross them off the list. The Chaldean is a bit more interesting given how little we know about them, but whatever's going on there, once again, doesn't imply much to do with isolation. And Marsbury, while we technically know little about him, the fact he was in a place of control kinda feels like it rules him out too. But knowing so little of him does leave room for doubt. Which leaves us with 2 options left. Olga, now known as Olga, the foreign god, and Specimen E, the alien kept in Area 51. And I did not realize how crazy that sounds until I typed it. Seriously, Nasu, what are you smoking and where can I get some? Jokes aside, both these characters seem like a good fit for these opening lyrics. We know few details of Olga's childhood, but it is easy to infer it was far from normal. And with mages, it's easy to imagine how Olga could end up feeling trapped. On the flip side, with what we learned in Trom, these lyrics fit Specimen E disturbingly well. We know that this alien being was kept alive and experimented on for a century. Certainly a depressing and captive situation. And that's really all we can glean from this first set of lyrics. How do I put an end to this? The completion and destruction, a story that will never arrive. If fate is already decided, I swore not to imagine a future I couldn't choose. And yet, these lyrics are incredibly similar to the Lost Belts, aren't they? A future that couldn't be chosen, decided fate, completion and destruction, a story that will never arrive. All of these lyrics are reminiscent of the Lost Belts. The future's discarded by the universe. This definitely creates a stronger connection to the foreign god, the being that started this whole mess. If Olga, and by proxy the foreign god, feels some kind of kinship with the fate of the Lost Belts, maybe that empathy could what led us to this whole arc. At the abyss of slumber, I see a gentle dream. Knowing it's an illusion, I run towards you. In moments our fingers will touch, and I wake up smiling. This connection the character feels seems to be the only thing holding them together, and this might be another point in Olga's favor. Whatever she's mixed with to create the foreign god could very well be the person she dreams of, and what gave her the strength to escape her infinite death in Chaldeus. I do not know what I really want, though I hunger so much. If I stay still, I find myself chained to the past. I have no choice but to depart. They want something badly despite not knowing what it is. They are influenced by some sort of trauma and it compels them to act. I'm not so innocent to say that people are born equal. Pain only lasts a moment. I'll get used to it right away. It was always easier to believe that. This is the only lyric that gives me any doubt to taking Wodan out of the running. This does speak to his backstory quite a bit, but I still don't think it's strong enough for me to keep speaking on him. Instead, while I'm not sure how to work that first part in, the bit about pain does speak pretty well to Olga's personality, being the kind of person to try and act stronger than she is. By the side of despair, I scream a nostalgic name like distant thunder. You continue to fight on the opposite side of the storm. I hope this reaches you. These lyrics are interesting, once again making a connection between our enigmatic POV character and someone else. This could be in reference to the relation of Specimen E and the foreign god, but also possibly between Marie and whatever makes up the rest of the foreign god. Possibly some kind of will of the alien species? Who knows? This cements that whoever the POV character is, they have some connection to either Chaldea or the foreign god, as those are the 2 main groups taking part in the present conflict. Break the silence, overcome the barriers, run to the other side all too bright, be baptized by the rain, run the muddied path, bask in the backlight and get covered in mud. I'll be here, I run towards you. In a moment our fingers will touch, in the future I wanted to choose. This is triumphant. It makes me want to root for this person, even though I'm certain they are an antagonist. But for them to overcome so much to reach what they want, it's hard not to root for them. Whoever they are trying to unite with seems like they will give them power. The power to reach the future they want to choose. And as our last lyrics are a repeat of the chorus, this is where we end Gyakkou, on the idea that its subject reached out to someone or something else, and together they are trying to change the future. I'm pretty sure Olga is the subject of the song. Considering I know nothing about him, Daybit is also a likely option. But if it is about Olga, then this song is about how she teamed up with another entity to escape her sad circumstances, and together they act as the foreign god to shape the future themselves. At least that's what I'm theorizing at the moment. I don't particularly feel like spoiling Lost Belt 7 for myself, so I'm working with limited information here. With that theorizing out of the way, next up we have Thest, the theme of Lost Belt 3. Which is in a language I don't even remotely know and can't even find an answer onto what it is, so it's getting skipped. Because I'm less than unqualified here, I'm downright incapable. So instead, Kama fans rejoice, because I'm talking about the theme of the Oku event, Abyss of Decadence. And unsurprisingly, we kind of have a horny start. Welcome to the labyrinth of pleasure that lies at the end of the mist of passion and desire. You are invited so you may be choked by sweet decadence. Even if you cry and have days you can't accept, take a look into hell's abyss. Yeah, that's Kama alright. Ready to drown you in each and every hedonistic urge you may have. Prepare to drown you in a pleasure so deep you'll never surface from its intoxicating spell. And it continues on like this. Once you fully understand depravity and crudeness, you will find pleasure, but you will be swallowed up in a whirlpool of nectar. This is your punishment, or maybe your reward. Such questions and answers are so foolish. If this dream is momentary, then cast away your body and bore your way deep, deep, deep into the depths. Now, not only are the lyrics describing your descent into depravity, but they also describe how that affects the mind. It tells you not to consider if pleasure is good or bad, just don't think about it. You don't know how long this pleasure will last, so just give in to it. You're dizzy, and it's hot enough to melt. This is the result of sedition. The convenient jokes whispered night after night have twisted you, starting from the synopsis of this dancing story. You're left with a panoramic view as you arrive at the abyss. Here she's taking credit for the situation. It's a result of her sedition. She's overthrown order, and now this is her world. I don't really get the line about jokes, that one's going a little above my head. Either way, we continue with her dragging us into depravity. Boil down servility and stupidity and you get pleasure. Let's devote ourselves to drifting around. This doesn't exist, and that doesn't either. Karma is swept away. That too reaches its end here. Abduct, snatch away, bind, and murder. Do whatever you please. Pleasure is found in servility and stupidity. Giving in and not thinking of anything, just pleasing and being pleasured. Just drift without a thought in your head. There's no karma left, so just do whatever you want, because she's running the show now, and there is no consequence to your actions. Bet your body and spirit, and even your life itself. It's worthless. It's foolish to stay attached. Love doesn't exist. Justice is nauseating. At the heart of chaos, be strong in Avicii hell. This one feels like a threat. This feels like her trying to tempt the master to give their everything because it has no meaning, chastising them for their trying. She claims love doesn't exist and justice isn't much better. And the last part is straight up a threat. Avicii hell refers to the realm of hell with the most suffering in Buddhism. So yeah, she's telling you some scary stuff here. Lawlessness and apathy are charming pleasures. Come on, be dyed in that festering color. That's love, a drowning love. Losing yourself to sensitivity. Take shelter in the door of greed. It's a wicked dream, so I'll make it come true. And the song ends with more hedonism. This is Kama's last push to pull you into depravity. She invites you into the house of greed to bring that wicked dream of yours to life. She's going to drown you in pleasure. And so I find this song pretty simple, actually. Which is a bit odd because I saw a few discussions on how depressing the song was, and I'm just not getting it. Maybe I'm using a bad translation, but it really seems as simple as it looks. This is Kama's villain song, and it's an expression of her evil scheme rather than a deep exploration of her character. Or maybe I'm dumb and not looking deep enough. If so, please explain things to me in the comments below. And that brings us to the last song we'll be discussing today, the third opening of Fate Grand Order, Yakudou, meaning lively motion. And luckily there isn't any guesswork for this opening, as Nasu has said that this opening is about the one and only Fairy of Paradise, Castoria. Well, more like 2 in second, but that's not the point. So let's take a look at how this song reflects the character. If victory means obtaining something, then is letting go defeat. A world where no one is hurt. Such a world may be a pretty lie. Still, I want to bet on it. Castoria is filled with doubts about her purpose and what she wants, and is on the verge of defeat several times. But even if it isn't actually possible for the idea of creating a peaceful world, she'll continue to fight for that ideal. On a night with a moon just like tonight's, I heard the sound of a bell marking time. An empty echo like myself. I feel like I can see through everything. In the blink of an eye, anger and grief pass from one person to the next. We go go to war with unseen and mysterious enemies that we created. Here, the bells are mentioned. The bells Castoria is meant to ring, the sound that pulls her towards her journey. It's empty, like herself. She feels like a shell with almost nothing to keep her going. Because of her eyes, she sees the ugliness in the people around her, and understands that's the passing of hatred, almost unnoticeable, that leads to conflict. The reason we run, no matter how silly it is, those passionate and quick words that impress us. Listen carefully to the lively movements with no falsehood in them. What Castoria is drawn to the most is honesty. What speaks to her the most is action being taken with no ulterior motives. Just the simple act of doing something honestly. And it's passionate words that can compel her to keep running forward. Absolute justice and an unwavering rule. A series of coincidences that everyone calls fate. How much can we believe in these things? I don't want to realize we've already been betrayed. Once again, we see her wavering here, doubting the things she's told her supposed to guide her. Both her own destiny and the rule of Queen Morgan. She can't believe in either and finds herself lost as the Fairy of Destiny. I traced the constellations on the celestial globe countless times, when the migratory birds take flight into dawn's red sky, close to limitless freedom. A future that is heading towards destitution. If we give up making our choices, we can't go back again. I can't draw much meaning from tracing the globe, but it's obvious why the birds are noted. Castoria envies that freedom, but knows the consequences of giving up her mission, a destitute future. So she goes along with what's expected of her, knowing she has to act. Listen to the sound of that bell. We are held down as much as we fight, are stolen from just as much as we want. A world where everyone can be forgiven is probably just a pretty lie, but still. She knows the world is full of conflict, and it seems hopeless that a world kind enough to forgive everyone is possible, but even just the idea of it keeps her going. The song launches into one last repeat of the chorus, and as per usual gives us one difference, this time ending on the words, "Look, listen to the sound of that bell." The bell in this case is hope. The thing that drives her forward isn't some attachment to the world around her, the one she can barely stomach thinking about. No, it's that bell. The bell that rings for her alone, that single shining star she can see, that last bit of hope that gives her the strength to try. And this song is the perfect display of that, because no matter how much doubt lies in Castoria, she still continues forward. And that brings us to a close. I know some of you might say Lost Belt 2 has an opening, but nope, that doesn't count. It doesn't play during its trailer, so it's not my problem. This script is already way behind schedule and I've got other work to do. This ended up being a much greater undertaking than I expected, but I hope you enjoy. Sorry if the audio is still a little off, I'm still just a little bit sick, kinda messed up my throat. Anyway, thanks for listening to my insane rambling, see ya for the next video, which will either be the Berserker video, something totally unrelated to Fate, or a Tsukihime video. We'll see. Anyway, see ya next time!